In this video, I'll be continuing on Introduction to Nervous System Physiology. In the previous video, we have already talked about the nervous system physiology, and we introduced ourselves to what is physiology itself. We asked ourselves question, what is physiology? And we have been able to describe everything about physiology itself. Now, we said physiology is the normal functioning of what? Normal functioning of living system, you understand? And we said we can subdivide physiology into based on taxa, based on level of organization, based on research, based on the cause of variation. We said the nervous system is the principal regulatory system. We all understand why is this principal regulatory system, because every other system is being regulated by what? By the nervous system, including the endocrine system, which is an regulatory system as well. So we know what that is. And we said basically the nervous system, the simplest nervous system is found in the coelentrates, that is the nerve net. We have the bilateral nervous system in the flatworm. We have the complex ganglion nervous system in annelid, mollusk, and arthropod. We have the holodorsal nerve cord in the vertebrates. We have all described this in the last video, you understand? And we are able to classify nervous system into central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And we said the central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system consists of all the sensory structure outside of the what? Outside of the brain. We have the peripheral nervous system is classified into two. That is the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. The somatic controls voluntary. This autonomic controls what? Involuntary action. And we said the involuntary action, the one that controls involuntary action can be subclassified into two. That is the somatic nervous, that's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And now we're talking about the central nervous system itself. Now, but before we talk about that, let us go to the cell of the nervous system again. We have the nerve cell, that is the neuron, and we have the what? We have the glial cells. And I said the ratio of nerve cells to glial cells is 10:1, which means glial cell is much more abundant than the nerve cell. You understand? Now, you now see this neuron. Let us talk about this neuron. Neuron is one of the longest living cell in the body. They are irreplaceable because they cannot undergo cell division. You understand? They are incapable of undergoing cell division, and they have high metabolic rates. About 20% of energy about 20% of calories that we take in every day is consumed by the brain activity. You understand? And they share the same or similar basic structure. I'm talking about neurons. So the first thing I mentioned is that what? They are one of the longest living cell in the body. You understand? They are irreplaceable because they cannot what? Irreplaceable because they cannot undergo cell division. And they have high metabolic rates. Do you understand now? Now, what are the structure of neurons? So look at it. We have the structure of neurons somewhere around here. Let me show you. This one is still. Now this is a neuron. So this is the structure of a neuron, of a typical neuron. You understand? So basically, neuron consists of two parts. We have two parts of neurons. We have the cell body and the cell process. I get it now. Now, I said the what? The cell body and the cell process. Now, the cell process is now divided into two. We have the axon and the dendrite. Now, look at it here. Look at this is the cell body. This one that I indicate with red. This is the dendrite, the cell process. Can you see it? This is the dendrite, and this is the axon, the one represented with pink. You understand? So basically, we want to draw a structure of these neuron. We can say it is like this. We have the dendrites. We have different dendrites. You understand? Coming together. Then we have the cell body somewhere around here. Then we have axon. You understand? Then we are going to have axon terminal. I get it now. So this is I'm just using this as an example. You understand? These dendrites. You understand? So these are dendrites. These are axon. Inside this place is the cell body, and this is axon terminal. You understand? So let me go back to the image that I have. So we have the what? We have the cell body. If you notice very well, they have indicated it here already. We have the cell body. We have the dendrites, right? We have the dendrites. We have the axon. Now on the axon, we have what we know as axon hillock. We'll be talking about the function of this axon hillock in the when we get to action potential. You understand? Very very important, very very important structure. Then we have the synaptic terminal, also known as axon terminal. I get me now. Also known as axon terminal. Now, talking about types of neuron, we now have classification of neurons. You understand? Classification of neurons is now numerous. We can classify a neuron based on the number of processes. We can classify a neuron based on what? Number of processes. Now, based on the number of processes, we can classify it into unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. This pseudo unipolar is not really necessary. Let's just functional. Let's just focus on unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. For unipolar neurons, we have only one cell process. That is the axon without dendrites. So in the unipolar neuron, we have the cell body and the axon. You understand? The cell body and the what? And the axon. So in a unipolar neuron, we have the what? We have the cell body and the axon. You understand? That is the cell. It has only one cell process. That's what we call unipolar neurons. In some textbook, you see them drawing it like this. Don't be confused. It is still the same thing. You understand? It is still the same thing. It is just telling that it is only one axon that is running like this. You understand? That is unipolar neuron. Now, for bipolar neurons, they have two cell process. That is one dendrite and one axon. You understand? That is one dendrite and one axon. And we can actually draw that one like this. We can draw it like we have the cell body here. We have the axon with axon terminal. Then we have the what? Just one dendrite. You understand? And this is the cell body. So this is a bipolar neuron because it has only one dendrite and one axon. What about multipolar neurons? The most common is the multipolar neuron. You understand? And an example of multipolar neurons is the one that I showed you in this space. This is a multipolar neuron. We have numerous what? Numerous dendrites and only one axon. Axon can only be one, you understand? Except you're having nerve fiber. Nerve fiber is what? Is bundle of axon. We'll be talking about that later. So multipolar neurons, even about 99% of neurons, they are multipolar neurons. About 99% of them, they are multipolar neurons. And they are found in different parts of the body. But where can we find bipolar neurons? Bipolar neurons can be found in sensory. This thing can be found in sense organ. You understand? Like the one inside the retina of the eyes. They can be found in the skin. So those are bipolar neurons. Just one dendrite, then one axon. Those are bipolar neurons. That is in terms of what? Number of cell process. Now, in terms of in terms of their function, in terms of their what? Their function, they can be classified into three. That is the motor neuron, the sensory neuron, and the interneurons. You understand? Neuron. Now, let's talk about the sensory neuron first. You see the sensory neuron, they are found in the peripheral. They are found in the what? In the peripheral nervous system. The motor neurons is found in the what? In the central nervous system. And the interneuron is found in the central nervous system as well. Now, let's take for an example. We have a human like this. We have a human like this. Now, remember I told you that peripheral is anywhere outside of the brain and the spinal cord. So we have our brain here. We have our spinal cord at the back, you understand? So if there is any neuron in this place, a neuron in this place now, in this particular place, it is a sensory neuron, you understand? Now, what does sensory neuron do? Sensory neuron is the neuron that takes the what? That takes an information from where the stimulus is from where it is being stimulated. That is from the sense organ to the brain. So basically, the dendrites of I've not talked about the function of each part of the neuron. Let me talk about that first before I talk about this. Remember I told you that we have the what? We have, for example, let's say this is a multipolar neuron. We have dendrites everywhere. We have dendrites, then we have cell body. Now, what does dendrite do? Dendrite is the one that receives information directly from the sense organ. It what? It receives information directly from the sense organ. So we use dendrite for sensing. So the information is being transported into the cell body. Then it is being transported to the axon. So what an axon do is that It transfer information from the neuron, from one neuron to another. That's the function of an axon. You understand? That's the function of an axon. So it acts as a channel for what? For the transmission of an impulse, transmission of information, flow of information. I will still talk more about it as very soon. Now, let us now take for an example. Inside we have the what? We have the maybe a pencil or a pen or a pin is used to pinch someone around this place. It is going to, the sensory neuron is going to sense it with its what? With its dendrites. Take it to the cell body, take it to the axon terminal. Then that is how they go to the what? Till they reach the brain. You understand? Once they reach the brain, the information is going to be processed, it is going to be interpreted, you understand? Then it is going to be sensed, it is going to be sent to another neuron. It is going to be sent to what? Another neuron. Which means inside of the brain, we have the what? We have the motor neuron. I get me now. Or let me say, firstly, we have the interneuron first. We have the interneurons. Interneuron. It is going to be sent into the interneuron. The interneuron takes it with the what? With its own dendrites. Then pass it to the motor neurons. Then the motor neuron takes it back to the effector muscle, to where it is being sent from. Then the information is going to say, maybe you are going to remove your hand, or maybe you are going to rub the place, you understand? Or maybe you are going to, it is going to contract your bicep, or it's going to relax your tricep, you understand? These are the things that we'll talk about when you get to reflex action, action potential, and stuff like that. Now, basically, what we are trying to say here is that a sensory neuron, remember I told you that we have two in the CNS, we have the motor and the interneurons. So a sensory neuron has its dendrites. So let us say this is the, let me say this is the CNS, and this is the PNS. I get me now. So a sensory neuron has its own dendrites connected from the what? From the PNS and its axon pointing towards the what? Pointing towards the CNS. So a sensory neuron has the dendrites at the PNS, dendrite and the cell body at the PNS, but the axon at the what? At the central nervous system. I get me now. And interneurons has its both cell body, its dendrites, and its axon at the what? At the CNS. It does not come outside of the CNS for interneurons. You understand? But a motor neuron has its dendrites at the CNS, but an axon at the what? At the PNS. So it is like this. Dendrite of the sensory neuron at the central nervous system. The cell body at the the dendrite of the sensory neuron at the peripheral nervous system, but the axon in the central nervous system. For the central nervous system, for the motor neurons, the dendrite at the central nervous system, the axon at the what? At the peripheral nervous system. But for interneurons, and dendrites, the cell body as well as the axon, everything is found in the central nervous system. You understand? So that is basically based on their function. So from what I have said so far, flow of information from the peripheral nervous system, it starts with what? It starts with receiving the information. That is what we call reception. We must receive the information first. The next thing is that it is then transmitted from one neuron to another till it reaches the central nervous system. Therefore, the second process is transmission. I get me. Now, when it reaches the central nervous system, it is going to be interpreted. Therefore, the third step is integration. I get me now. Integration. Then it is going to be sent back to where it comes from so that action can be taken. Therefore, the last step is action by effector muscle. By effector what? Effector muscle. So, in neuronal transmission, we have four processes. We have what? Reception. We have transmission. We have integration. And we have what? We have action by the effector muscle. You understand? So these are the basic process in what? In impulse transmission. Reception, transmission, integration, and action by the effector muscle. You understand? So these are the basic stuff that we have in there. So now, I've said the reception is by what? The dendrites. Transmission is by axon. You understand? From one axon to another. integration is by the central nervous system, and action by the effector muscle is by the peripheral nervous system. So reception by the what? By the dendrites, transmission by the what? By the axon, the integration by the central nervous system, and the action by the effector by the what? Peripheral nervous system. You understand? So these are the things that you have to understand in these parts. You understand? So what are the things we have said so far? We have described the what neuron is. You understand? Now we can now classify neuron. Remember, the first one is classification based on number of processes. That's classified into unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. Classification based on what? Classification based on the action. You understand? Based on function. That is motor neurons, sensory neurons, and interneurons. And the third one is now classification based on presence or absence of myelin sheaths. Classification of what? Based on presence or absence of what? Of myelin sheaths. Now, look at this. This is, we now classify into two. We have the unmyelinated and the myelinated. You understand? Now, for the unmyelinated, are those ones that doesn't have myelin sheath. Look at this one now. It has no myelin sheath. It is plain. There is no myelin sheath. But if you look at this one, you see one dot dot dot. Let me draw it. Let me draw it in actual sense. Now look at this. Let us see for an example. We have a neuron like this. Then we have something like this. We have the axon, terminal. Now there will now be something like this here. Look at this. These things. They are called what? They are called myelin sheaths. You understand? They are called myelin sheaths. These are dendrites. We have dendrites. We have the cell body. You understand? So this is myelinated. This myelinated neuron. They are the one that has myelin sheaths. But the one that doesn't have myelin sheaths are called unmyelinated neurons. You understand? We'll be telling you the function of myelin sheaths in the next coming videos. So in this video, we have talked about, we have described what neuron is, the basic function of neurons, the transmission of impulse, right? The flow of information through nervous system, and the classification of neurons based on the number of processes, based on the function, and based on presence or absence of myelin sheaths. So in the next video, we'll be talking about other stuff about nervous system physiology. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And subscribe for more.